This is Do By Friday, a weekly challenge podcast with Merlin Mann, Alex Cox, and Max Temkin. This week's challenge, present a harebrained theory.
Yo!
Ah, hello!
Hey, it's Do By Friday.
What?
Wait a minute, this isn't Merlin Mann.
Isn't it?
It's famous occasional podcaster Adam Lisagor.
Yes. Casual caster, Adam Lisagor. At your service, netcasts you love from this guy you trust.
Do you have the ukulele lying around? I don't know where you're casting from.
No, I'm casting from The Office, from the podcasting / VR suite at Sandwich Video, which gets rarely if ever used for either of those things.
That's a lot of gear for stuff that you guys don't do.
I thought you were joking at first. That's very
No, it's true.
cool.
We've got all the gear and none of it gets used. That's just how it happens.
Yeah, we can relate to that. Alex and I are more of like a camera buying company than a media production company.
Sure, well, that's fun too.
Yeah.
Boy.
It really is.
Well, Merlin...
I genuinely don't know where he is, so...
He didn't tell us even. I mean, it's a pretty critical mission. I mean, I think it's some sort of special op. Maybe George Soros has hired him to be like a crisis actor at a school shooting.
Oh, no.
And, you can't tell anyone about that.
Or he's just bored of us. It was like, no.
Could be. He's going through one of his leave me alone phases. I think those come up from time.
Yeah, he pulled Adam. He was like, listen, I know that you don't want to talk to these people for a couple hours, but I need you to do me a favor, buddy. And that's why Adam's here.
No, I've received no communication from Merlin re this podcast episode at all, even on the email thread. So I don't know what to...
He's been hands off.
Okay. Good.
But he knows that we had to bring in the big guns to replace him.
He's a busy guy. Guy.
So we've already decided that this is like our "You Look Nice Today" cover band, and I'm Merlin. Merlin is Scott, and Alex is Adam.
Oh.
So now we sort of have two Adams.
We don't speak of this. That is a far too flattering title. I think it's just because have glasses that looked similar to yours.
It works. Point. No, I love it. I think it's a wonderfully flattering comparison for both of us. And I don't know. I'm flattered. So who do I get to be?
Well, I mean, you're
Stu Sutcliffe.
That's an interesting question. I mean, I guess you're the new Scott.
Am I?
Well, Merlin's not here. So. Yeah. When Merlin gets back, it's going to be like when Ringo joined back with the Beatles. It's like, now they sound like the Beatles again.
I mean, what if we upgraded? What if he's like the new Gruber? And then by association,
that's interesting.
He's Ryan Johnson,
I
then we
could
just
see
keep
that.
going up
Adam,
the stack.
do a little fractured read for us. Let's hear it out.
Say, have you ever? I don't. Okay, let me preface. I don't listen.
Hey,
to
this
podcasts.
is kind of like a Gruber ad read. All right. So I had a couple of topics to talk about. Adam, I don't know if you're part of the Do By Friday Powder Nation, but the format of the episode is usually we sort of have all of our like follow up and front matter, and then we kind of try to cram the challenge in frantically at the last 5 minutes. Although we should try to leave a little more time because it's actually a very good challenge that you've given us this week.
Cool. No, whatever you do, I'm at your disposal. So I'll just roll with it however you want to do it.
Cool. Well, let's see. Do you have any? Where do you want to start, Alex? Do you have follow up? I have a bunch of items of follow up.
I literally have. Max keeps his notes secret from Merlin and I, so that it can be like a big reveal.
Yeah, you mean so that you can genuinely be surprised by the things that we talk about on a podcast and have authentic reactions, and it's like funny and interesting.
That's what Scott used to do too. He would just say, like, he would come up with the topics and he would never reveal them to us. He would just be like, "Trust me, just trust me. It's gonna work."
we didn't even get a trust me. It's like, Dig Dug, the president's penis. Like, I think that's going to be what happens one day.
Well, we didn't see it. I wound up watching almost 40 minutes of college basketball last night to not see the president's penis. So that was a bit of a ripoff. I do think, in my imagination, though, it kind of looks like Alf's nose.
I don't know why you keep going back to that. Like,
because it just does. I don't know. It's just there's something going to be weird with it. It's like an elephant's trunk, maybe. What if it's like a perfect pyramid?
Oh, interesting.
I think it's mostly head, no shaft.
So it's like a strawberry coming off of his. He's got sort of a fold and then just a strawberry coming out of that. Seeds on the outside, I would say.
Adam, I have to say, Max and I, you know what? I have some front matter. Max and I are big fans of your filmmaking, so much so that when I showed someone one of my college films, they're like, "Oh, did you just rip off Lonely Sandwich?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly." So thank you. You got me really great grades in film school.
I have to say, I built a whole nominal career out of like ripping off Adam's videos and doing them for like Kickstarter videos. I mean, they're not good rip-offs. Like I'm not comparing them, but it was like a style that I saw and I was like, that's what I want my stuff to feel like. And then I just did, and then I just sort of muddled through like making videos that sort of felt like how sandwich videos made me feel.
Awesome. Well, everybody rips off somebody. That's how art is made. And I ripped off plenty of people too. So it's all in the circle of life. Continues Hakuna Matata.
That was the whole Cam Davis ad that I put together. Was like, I got this. We can get into. I don't know if you want to get into this, Adam, but we can talk about the whole story behind this. But like, basically, basically, so I got an email. I was working on some other campaigns in the Illinois primaries. And I got an email from my friend Deborah Shore, who's on the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Cook County, in a big political office. And Deborah, I know, I actually worked on, it was one of my first jobs in politics. I worked for one of her re-election campaigns doing like events for her. But she gave me an email and she's like, listen, there's this crazy situation going on where Bruce Rauner might get to appoint the guy, because basically what happened was that one of the commissioners died, and he died like right before petitions were due, so there wasn't time for Democrats to file. And then there was like one guy who had some money and some union support and some resources, but he filed incorrectly. So then Cam was like the only person left, and she was like, listen, we got to get Cam. She's like, Cam's the most qualified, and also like if we don't somehow figure out a write-in campaign, we're screwed, because then there won't be a Democrat on the ballot and Bruce Rauner just gets to like appoint someone. And conventional wisdom of like everyone who had been looking at this race was like, it's just not done. Like, I mean, you just don't. He needed he needed like 8,900 write-ins or something along that line. And it was just, I mean, that's just like anyone who knows anything about local politics knows like you cannot get 10,000 write-in votes for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Like, people don't know what that office is. They don't know who the guy is. It's just not possible. But she emailed me and she was like, can you think of some way to get people to care about this? And I just started doing like mashups in my head of like, what if it was like this video, or like, what if this director did it? Like, what would it look like if, Quentin Tarantino or Spike Jonze did a video for this guy? And then I was like, oh, what about some sort of
commercial maybe? Yeah,
well, like a sandwich, like a rip-off sandwich video, basically like an off-brand sandwich video. And what I liked about it was like, to me, there had to be some sort of acknowledgement of, if you're going to do an ad and say, hi, I'm the most qualified guy for this office, but I'm not on the ballot and you have to write my name in a special case, there's some kind of disconnect there, right? Like, you have to acknowledge that the guy's not on the ballot. So I felt like there's something very candid and disarming about the way that, I feel like people, like what's fun about sandwich videos, or at least my favorite sandwich videos, is there's so much bullshit in the world of tech, and there's so many bad commercials, and there's so many tropes, and it's all so slick, and everyone's selling some sort of crazy bullshit. And I feel like there's just something so disarming about sandwich videos, where they sort of acknowledge that it's an ad and it's fun and it kind of meets your gaze. I don't know how to put it, but it's It's not.
Yeah, I heard
not,
it described recently as vulnerability, and I hadn't heard that before.
Ooh, yeah, that's great.
But yeah, just allowing anybody on camera to be vulnerable, or even allowing the brand or the product to be vulnerable, and it's just not something you see done in advertising all that much. So I liked that expression of it.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, it's like you have to acknowledge that there's something weird that you have to write the guy's name in. There's no you can't trick the voters into thinking that there's nothing weird about writing the guy's name in, that he's not on the ballot like every other Democrat. So I felt like there just had to be some sort of humility and like you're saying, like vulnerability of saying like, listen, this is screwed up. Would you guys bail us out? And then I also felt like once I was thinking about it that way, there was a kind of a comedy angle to it of like, it rung true in a funny way with modern politics to me of like, boy, the Democrats just cannot get their shit together, but also like we really need the people to bail us out. So I just felt like that was sort of a funny tone for the video, and then I
love it. I think it's perfect, and I love how she has this kind of Fran Lebowitz persona.
Oh, right? She's so good.
She's super down and she's super game for whatever. And Max, you sent me the script before you shot it, and my first thought was, there's no way that any politician's ever going to say these words, but she totally did. And then Cam is sort of just like her wingman a little bit. She's sitting at her throne, and he's at her call, and the tone was absolutely perfect. And what happens now with it?
Well, so the election happened, and we have
I didn't even vote. I feel terrible.
Well, that's okay because you don't live in Cook County, so it wouldn't have helped. But
you can vote anywhere these days.
Here's how much of a ripoff it was I sent it when I was doing different cuts. Was sending them to Adam, and I was like, "What do you think?" And then I was like, "Maybe I should put some bleep bloop music in, like how some of the sandwich videos have." And Adam was like, "Don't do that." And then I was like, "I'm gonna try it,
I
see how
said
it
never
sounds."
say that again.
Never say that again.
Never say bleep bloop again.
And you know, honestly, like I liked it a lot better without the music, but I made the critical mistake of sending it with music to the committee. Yeah. And I shouldn't have done that because once that was out, there was no.
It's all right. There's a good version of every decision like that. So as long as it's the good version, you're fine. How did you disseminate it?
We did. So I did Instagram. I did paid Instagram ads. Like Cambridge Analytica, and paid Facebook ads and paid Twitter ads, and then also just organic. Like I think we probably got 40,000 views just organically. And then the rest was all paid, so probably over another 100,000 paid. And it had on the paid views, we had a 40% completion view rate, which is very high for a paid video ad.
Yeah, I've done a couple of political ads, and they were so last minute that they didn't. I'm sure they had some maybe marginal effect on the campaigns, but we forgot to do the part where you put it out there into the public view and then try to seed it and let it grow, and something can't be seen by enough people in 2 days. So my bad, but it was sort of experimental in the first place. We lost both those races.
I would love to see those races. I've never seen those ads. I want to see them.
So we have this site. I have this separate spin-off company called Special Projects, and it's the website is specialprojects.co.
Oh, that's so good.
And so that's kind of where I stick those videos and don't tell anybody. And they're not just political stuff. They're social good campaigns and things like that too.
Yeah, I feel like oh, look at this. There's a little something for the EFF here. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like what I was thinking about when I was making all the decisions for the Cam Davis ad was I felt like political ads are very slick right now. So you're seeing a lot of 2012 12 like tech videos. So like it's like a guy on a white background, and there's like sort of cheerful ukulele music in the background, and he's like, I believe in 3 values: honesty, integrity, and public service. You know, it's like the other guy's gonna have yard signs going like dishonesty, like I'm gonna screw you. So fuck the public. And I just feel like that's so false for the same reason that those tech videos were false. I mean, it's just such a manufactured. It's such a like a suburban like antidepressant ad or something. Like it just immediately sets your alarm bells off of like, this guy's full of shit. So like I liked what I tried to carry through with all the things for the Cam Davis ad in every aspect of it was like, what's the most real version of this? Of just, you know, you want just Deborah going to the voter and saying, we fucked up, could you please help us? And so it was like, let's put her like in a film studio, because the reality of it is she's in a film studio and she's being filmed. So like, let's acknowledge that on camera. And, you know, we tried to do all of the effects and jokes and everything in that sort of, you know, one take. Like you could see how everything worked, kind of a vibe to it.
Yeah, it was so good. And I love the choice to show the crew and the equipment and just have that be the trope, is that we're sort of, I don't know. I don't even know really story-wise what's the purpose of seeing equipment in the shot. It's as though you're shooting a different video and this is just like a side video during the shooting of that video, but somehow it works.
It's as though you threw it together in 2 days and there was just...
Well, it was, I mean, so A, there was a little bit of that. I mean, it was really hasty, but B, like, I just had this idea, I don't know, I guess I had the idea that it I mean, I didn't worry about over-explaining it too much, but in my head, the idea was maybe that Deborah's just going to a film studio to sit down and do this, like one take, like we're just going to, you know, like that thing from The West Wing where the guy who takes Princess Leia does his commercial in Iowa in one take. That story didn't make any sense, but anyway. There's probably one listener of the podcast who's with me. Jimmy Smits. Anyway, yeah, and then, the only change that Deborah made that I thought was very funny and very telling was the original ending of the ad. She said, if you're writing Cam Davis, I give you permission not to use a low-flow toilet for 1 year. And Deborah was like, I can't, she was like, I love the ad, but I can't say that. Like,
that's awesome. She's got principles.
She's like, I can't give people, she's like, people can't not use low-flow toilets for 1 year. Well, and then I met with, so I had dinner with some of my comedy friends, Scott Goldstein and Tom Fell, and we just sat there making water puns for like an hour, like getting drunk and making water puns. And Tom eventually came up with "Don't shit where you eat," and I was like, and I printed it out like at the office while everyone was in the studio. I was like, Deborah, would you do this version? And she was like, yeah, I guess we're doing it. Let's go.
It's so good. And I saw on Instagram you had like a legit crew and everything too. It was like a real shoot.
Yeah, that was all Steve Delahoyd. So shout out to Steve Delahoyd if you're in the Chicago area, or I guess really anywhere, and you need a very, very good director to do anything. Hire Steve Delahoyd. He does all the Field Notes videos, which are outstanding.
Yeah, they are award-winning. Awesome. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned about the tropes of political ads that were just, and with every generation of a genre like that, it takes a while for the back of the pack to catch up and realize what are the things you just don't do anymore. So there's still just like loads and loads of bad content in that genre. Last year I went to DC and I did a talk, which was really an awesome opportunity. I did a talk for this group called Running Start, which is it's a week-long training program for young women to learn to run for public office.
Oh, cool.
And so I went and I spoke to them about, like, as a video expert, about being the most authentic version of yourself, how you represent yourself authentically, either on camera or otherwise. And so what I did as part of that talk was I collected a whole bunch of different political ads, both bad ones and good ones, and I showed them to the audience, who's all, I think, 14 through 18-year-old girls, and they picked up on stuff, on the cues of inauthenticity faster than adults would. That was really fun to experience, actually.
You know, it's interesting. I met with a lot of people running for office this cycle in Illinois, and they were all, you know, I know all the weird candidates that like don't have a chance to win, but they're cool and they share my beliefs. and they're like, how do I break through, and how do I reach people, and how do I get people excited, and especially young people, and it's like, well, and they're like, what? They're like, could a lot of people were like, could you do a video for me, or figure out digital strategy or whatever, and like the issue is like, people vaguely know that what they're doing is inauthentic, but then they're not willing to do any of the things that are actually authentic. So my advice to a lot of people, especially people that I thought were like genuinely interesting people and like funny and compelling, was I was like, you should do a vlog. Like, just turn your cell phone camera on and talk into it and be like, hey, I'm in the car on my way to this debate, and here's what I'm thinking, and this is my day. All right, thanks for watching. And just do that every day, and it'll probably connect with an audience the same as tons of people on YouTube who do a vlog connect to an audience. And everyone was like, well, everyone had a million reasons of why that wouldn't work. But I feel like
that's a great suggestion.
I feel like the world is waiting for the Casey Neistat,
of
political candidates.
So I got this drone. One of my favorite things that you always ask or try to get candidates to answer at debates is, so what do you do? What does an alderman do? What does the attorney... And they're so resistant to that. And I don't... Well,
I worked on a really rough campaign it was the campaign that broke my spirit, and I stopped working in politics full time and decided to do cards, and that was around the period when cards got started. But basically, I was working on the statewide campaign on the controller's race for the Illinois State Controller, and the candidate was a real menace. Like, he made us wear suits. There was a very small staff, like 3 or 4 of us, and he made us wear suits every day. And we were working on the 4th floor of this unair conditioned brick bank building, and we were just sweating. And no one saw me. Like, I was working on a computer all day. Like, there's no reason for me to wear a suit, except he wanted to feel important when he came in the office. So he had a huge ego, and he was really rough on us. And, we were all pitching in and doing speech writing and staffing him at events and stuff. And we would frequently say, I think when you speak, you should probably start by telling people what the controller does. You should say, this is my name and I'm running for controller, and here's what the controller does. Because no one knows. And he would say, everyone knows what the controller does. The 4th highest constitutionally ranking office in the state. Everybody knows what the controller does.
What does the controller do? I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, but most people don't. Even most people at political office, at a political event, I don't think they deeply know what the controller does. Like, maybe they know the guy who used to do it or whatever, but I don't think people deeply, I know a lot of elected officials, and I don't deeply know what they do. I'm always curious, is it a full-time job, or do you do other stuff? Or what do you have for breakfast? And how do you get around? Do you have a driver?
Is there a difference between the controller and the comptroller?
Yeah, the difference is that comptroller is how you say it if you don't know how to pronounce it.
Like
okay.
a Marine Corps.
So there is a difference, yeah.
All right.
I looked up, we actually, when I was working on that race, none of us knew how to say it, and some people would say comptroller and some people would say controller. And so I looked it up in my trusty dusty Garner's Modern American Usage, and it literally has that joke in it. He's like, the difference between comptroller and controller is comptroller is how you say it if you don't know how it's pronounced.
Great.
I've actually, this is one bit of front matter that I really wanted to ask Adam. It's sort of related to the Trump stuff. Do you like wearing suits, Mr. Lesigor?
No. Well, not really. No, I guess my category of daily wear sort of changes maybe every 6 months or so. And for a while it was for a couple of years, actually, it was button down shirts at the very least. But now when I put those on, I feel like a dad. Most of these days I'm just trying to avoid feeling like a dad. So for a while it was a lot of Henleys, but I never wear suits, and even when I wear a suit on camera, I feel like a poser, and I feel like everybody's, I feel like a fraud. So, and I feel like that comes through in the presentations. I mean, that's the frustrating thing about style, is even if you want to try something because you think it's the coolest thing, if you're not fully there with the confidence, then not only are you feeling like everybody's judging you for not having the confidence, but actually, it has ultimately it has the effect of not having confidence, even worse confidence. So no, yeah. Long answer, no.
I look forward. I really look forward to an opportunity to wear a suit. I did this speaking thing, this politics event on Friday, and I had to get dressed up and wear a nice suit. And I felt great when I was there because I knew I was all right. I'm fit in, and I have a suit that fits correctly, and I I like matched all my colors. Like I was like, I don't know, that's a cool feeling. But then immediately, no, didn't do the pocket square because it was like a lunch.
More businessy.
It was more businessy. Yeah, I didn't want to showboat, but you know what I did? I wore like a new pair of white sneakers, dressed it down a little bit.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, you did a Seinfeld.
Which Veronica makes fun of me for, but I think it's a cool look. I think it's definitely the way to wear a suit if you're not trying too hard. If you're trying to make it look, if you're trying really hard to make it look like you're not trying too hard.
Yeah. I saw Jason Kander got dragged on Twitter for wearing a suit jacket with jeans the other day.
Yeah. Well, do a sport coat. I mean, the suit jacket looks like you borrowed your dad's.
Oh, well, maybe not a suit. Yeah, maybe it was a sport coat. Sport coat and jeans is definitely the Seinfeld.
yeah, it really is. Yeah, I don't like when people wear like a black suit jacket with blue jeans because it looks like you showed up to the restaurant and you had to borrow a jacket. You're on a date. The sleeves are hanging over your hands.
Yeah. That comes off as surprise funeral that you were prepared for.
Nice
whatever
crest.
you had in the car.
Well,
you point to the waiter and you're like, and my lady will have the pasta and lobster, and you knock over a glass of water with a huge sleeve.
Adam, to answer your question, the reason I asked is because apparently Max says this, but I can't find proof of it, is that Trump is killing the way of the suit.
Well, we haven't gotten into the harebrained theories section of the podcast.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, is that the theory?
One more.
That's my theory. I think Trump.
Good.
I think that the men. Well, no, I wasn't going to do this one, but now I will. But I feel like
sorry, just a teaser. We can talk about
teaser.
this.
Yeah.
This is what the pros do. Yeah, we're gonna give you a little teaser for later. No, it's like I feel like I feel like the men's suit is already on the way out because there's sort of the men's suit started as like a power thing because it was showing like, ooh, like look how much fabric I can afford. Like I don't even need this to like for my like work beasts and my my house. Like I have excess fabric and I can drape it on my body, luxuriously.
It's like the lawn of a man.
Yeah, it is actually. Or like it's like how women wear like high heels because it's meant to show that your women don't need to work, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like a wealth. It's like a what do you call it? Like a cultural capital. It's like you're displaying that you have like power and wealth because you have all this extra fabric, and that's already lame because it's like obviated by like the new power symbol is to show that you don't need to wear a suit. So you're like, you're like Mark Zuckerberg, and you roll into a meeting in a black T-shirt, and then everyone has to take pictures of you at weird angles so you look taller than everyone else. But so the suit was already on its way out, and I think it might be like the final nail in the coffin for the relevance of the men's suit that just Trump.
See, I'm glad that you're saying men's suit because I have like so many weddings to go to this summer, and I've finally been like, no more fucking dresses, and I'm gonna get a suit tailored, and I'm very excited about it.
Oh,
and I'm
yes.
like, I need. But both my wife and I are like, okay, we're gonna go do this, and they were looking at like pocket squares.
Suit?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
Do you go to someone who specializes in that, or do you go to a men's suit tailor that?
Yeah, do you get a normal suit or a gay suit?
Exactly. That's the problem. Is like there's some nice gay suits.
I'll have one gay suit, please.
And Maddie's like, I'd like the trans option. It's like, I hope I don't get in trouble for that. Oh, well, one more style question for you, Adam. I'm going to send you two links.
Wait, what's the answer? Where are you getting the suits?
I don't know. I have not done my research yet.
Go to check out.
There are online tailors. Sabrina, who works for me, got just the most finely tailored suit I've ever seen, and I could get the site from you.
Now, did she get professionally measured and then send those measurements to the suit website?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's how to do it.
So I've seen a bunch of dinglings in our office like trying to measure themselves with like a
for like the black tux or something.
Yeah, for like with a straight edge ruler trying to like measure their inseam. Like three people like gathered around a guy trying to measure their balls to like send it off to one of those like suit by mail places, and I'm like, just go to a suit company. Like what is this? You're saving like $10. Like.
Well, there was was a day like that. I remember when like MeUndies first came out, and then there's a bunch of like bra companies online, and we just all of the women in the company, we just were like, okay, how do we do this? And I don't know. I just don't trust measurements online. I don't know. Plus, I want a fancy man to be like, yeah, that definitely looks good, even if they're lying to me.
Yeah, have a professional do it.
There's a place in Chicago called Suit Supply that our friend Fancy Ben took me and Tommy to.
I love Fancy Ben.
And I would just talk to Ben, honestly, because he knows like actual tailors. But Suit Supply did a hell of a job for me.
One more question, Adam. I'm going to send you 2 links, and these are just 2 bags. And I really, especially ever since the, oh, dang it, what was it called? Jesse Thorne's series.
Put This On.
Yeah, Put This On. I was always so impressed. And there's just 2 bags, and I'm just interested in which one you find more aesthetically appealing.
Oh, okay. Sure. Well, I'm no expert. Okay, so there's the second one for sure.
Do I get to see this?
Yes!
Do I get to see these?
Well, this
What
is
is
the
this?
second one.
Okay.
And this is the first one. That. Thank you so much, Adam. You just made my
That's
day.
Alex's backpack and my backpack. I think Alex's backpack looks like something out of like Starship Troopers. It's like some sort of futuristic carapace.
That's okay. It's an urban ninja backpack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
exactly.
tailored.
Yeah, it's got special compartments for all your shurikens in case you need to battle a rival dojo.
Adam, do you have any front matter or anything you would like to ask us? Or we can just keep telling you how impressed we are
I
with
have
everything.
none. I want to circle back to the suits really quick because I feel like it was because Trump is just whatever. Trump has always been Trump. He's an older fat man and he looks a certain way in a suit. I feel like Mike Pence could do better, and it was actually Mike Pence that destroyed the suit in this administration.
Oh.
Because I feel like he did it with intent, and his intent was not to look sexy ever, no matter what. He's uncomfortable with the idea, because a man looks sexy in a suit unless you actually make a concerted effort to not look sexy, to look unsexy.
Do you have your computer in front of you, Adam?
Yeah.
Look up kickboxing dummy.
Okay.
Do a Google image search for kickboxing dummy.
Got it.
That's Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, absolutely.
Doesn't that look exactly like Mike Pence?
It really does.
I think his body, this guy is pretty shredded though, and I think Mike Pence, I think he looks like a Duplo man under that suit. Like I think it's all it's all kind of perfectly smooth, and it's got like a lot of right angles.
Right.
And there's just
But you got to work hard to cover that up.
there's just there's just a plastic hinge where his dingus would be. just a smooth.
A full-size Ken doll.
Yeah, exactly. Just smooth little radius of plastic down there.
But really, what is it with politicians never having good ties? Why can't just one politician have a nice
Well,
tie?
Obama got made fun of a lot for any sort of experimentation with his wardrobe. There are some male politicians who have pretty good style. Not a lot, though.
Name one.
Well, I think famously,
Obama.
like Obama's suits were pretty great.
Probably anybody running for California governor right now has pretty good suits.
Yeah, I always thought Arnold looked terrible in a suit.
Yeah, well, he's a big guy. It's not his fault.
He looks like an earth mover.
He could only wear those suits that are made out of sweatpants material.
He's like what animal is it that like poops in a cube so it doesn't roll downhill? Like that's his body type. All right, I had a quick follow up from the Chicago Tribune. So I don't know if people the avid listeners of Do by Friday, the real Max heads out there who follow me on Twitter, might have seen me complaining about. They might have seen me complaining about our priceless Black Rat graffiti that got destroyed by the city of Chicago last week. And basically, the story on this is we had Oh boy, it was about a year ago, actually. I think it was in like March of last year. This French graffiti artist, Black Lorat, who's called the father of street art, street or graffiti art, I guess, he sort of originated, I guess what you might call like the Banksy look or the Banksy style in Paris in the 60s and 70s. He did a show, like a retrospective show at a gallery in Chicago. And when he was in town, he put out word to a couple of sort of artists and designers and street artists, and he was like, is there, space where it would be allowed for me to do a mural? And I put our building up, and he came and scoped it out, and he liked it, and he did a paste up. And City of Chicago couldn't have been more excited, and it was a really cool paste up. Alex put the link in the show notes. And basically, the city of Chicago is really bad about street art. Like it comes from overzealous graffiti cleansing in the Daley administration that has never really been reformed or changed or re-examined. And the city really doesn't draw any distinction between like gang tagging and art. And they have this thing called graffiti busters, and it's just big trucks with power washers, and they just come by and wash your graffiti off, and they assume this is what people want. And I've done battle with graffiti busters many times trying to preserve different pieces of artwork, and they always come on and take it down.
Are they contractors or?
That's a great question. They drive. So the meter maids are contractors, right? That's a private company now that does the parking enforcement, and they do not drive City of Chicago vehicles. They drive their own vehicles. And the graffiti busters drive City of Chicago like fleet vehicles. So I think they are probably a city agency. But so graffiti busters came 3 different times over the last year and tried to destroy the Black Rat piece, and someone saw them and ran out and was like, no, we want to keep it. And on a couple of times we even had to call our Alderman Hopkins, or someone from his office, and talk to the graffiti busters and say, no, it's art. They have permission to keep it up, which is crazy because it's our private property. But anyway, last week graffiti busters rolled up early, 7:30, 8 a.m. before anyone was in the office, and it was gone. I actually got someone texted me, and they were like, hey, graffiti busters is outside your office, and it was done by that point. So I was mad, and actually later that day, our alderman called me and apologized, and they've been actually great about it, and I'm going to talk with them about coming up with some system to fix this in the future. But the follow-up I wanted to read on Due by Friday, this is a piece from Lauren Zumbach at the Chicago Tribune. So as you know, Chicago's like a finalist for trying to woo Amazon to build their HQ2 here. So this is from March 22nd from the Chicago Tribune. They said, the city and Chicago real estate developers did a lot of sprucing up over the past week, but it was no ordinary spring cleaning. City crews were blasting away graffiti near proposed sites for Amazon's planned 50,000 employee second headquarters in the lead up to the online retail giant's visit, city records show. Owners of the proposed HQ2 sites were busy cleaning up vacant land and adding signs showing glossy architectural renderings of their projects. And then it specifically lists what they're trying to sell as Lincoln Yards, which is the 70-acre site across the river from us where the Finkel Steel site used to be, that's like the leading place for the Amazon thing. It says they dramatically stepped up graffiti cleanup near some of the city's sites being pitched to Amazon in the week leading up to the company's visit. In the month leading up to Amazon's visit, the city completed 233 requests for graffiti removal in the Fulton Market area. During the same month last year, the city handled only 14 graffiti removal requests.
I want to throw up.
So that's what happened. It's like they were trying to look cool to Amazon. Mayor Rahm was trying to look cool to Jeff Bezos, and they came and destroyed our street art. So I feel like Jeff Bezos... Basically, my conclusion is that Jeff Bezos owes us a priceless piece of art. It's the only thing that can make this right.
At least like a fleet of like fire phones or something that are laying around.
Oh,
or
that could be
just,
funny.
Yeah, just give us a bunch of echoes.
How about a competing tribe of graffiti busters that's out there just busting the work of the graffiti busters?
Oh, maybe, okay. So you put up giant nets,
yes,
and like tripwires,
no.
like they get their power washer up, and then suddenly you hear like a branch cracks, and you hear a spring, and they shoot up into a giant net. Gotcha, bitch. Power wash that.
They literally go to the giant X's.
Little to the left, little to the left.
There's no way that HQ2 is actually going to be here, right? Like our
it is a leading contender. Have you seen the fucking renderings for this thing?
It's like people who wanted the Olympics to come to Chicago.
Look at this. Google. I think it's just do a Google image search for Lincoln Yards. Let me see if that finds it. Yeah, that's it. Look at this. It's crazy. It looks like the Starfleet headquarters and all of the 90s Star Trek shows.
Oh God, I hate it.
They're gonna build a 20,000 person soccer stadium across the street from our office.
I hate it all so much.
You know how we always drive around and we're like, you know what this neighborhood needs is 20,000 cars.
Yep. You know.
You know, it's so easy to park outside our office, and we're like, if only there were 20,000 more cars.
Maybe they're like, well, this neighborhood in Chicago has basically the last Barnes & Noble in all of the Midwest, so we just want to take them down. Man.
They showed some new renderings this week of the Lincoln Yards project, and one of them had like a shopping center over the river and had a canoe store on the second story. They were just selling canoes on a second story walk-up store.
Is there anything like that in LA, Adam? Like you're in LA, right? Not to compromise your OPSEC, but you're not in San Francisco.
No, I am definitely not in San Francisco. I'm absolutely 100% in Los Angeles. Thank you for qualifying. Yeah.
Is there may I ask, like, has your area already been completely gentrified, or is there cool startups like slowly creeping in?
The neighborhood we're in is on the tail end of its gentrification. It is absolutely the coolest neighborhood in LA right now, I believe.
Is it Echo Park?
No, it's
Los Feliz?
the Arts District.
Ah, okay.
So the Arts District in downtown, sort of on the outskirts, and it's called the Arts District because artists used to be here, and they're not anymore. Just Shinola is here now. And Salt and Straw.
They've been making Detroit watches since what did they say? Since like 1950 or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I actually don't know. I've not been in, but it feels like it's on the way out. And if startups come in a meaningful way, if startups are here in a way that you know them and see them, then yeah, there goes the neighborhood. As it is right now, it's starting to creep into a little bit of Venice territory where everything is a little bit too perfect to be bohemian. We're on the edge of bohemian, the edge where you can still see plenty of relics of the old warehousey past. So it's not fully converted yet, which is a nice place to be.
Adam, you ever go to that place, the Pie Hole?
Sure. Oh, definitely. They've been here since we've been in the neighborhood as well. There were sort of like two restaurants in the neighborhood, and now it's more restaurant than neighborhood.
Is this a bakery or a gay club?
Oh, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
It depends. Is a turkey pot pie kind of a thing, like a gay thing? I guess.
If you are a gay man, please tweet at Max Temkin and give us some follow-up.
Yeah, tell me what a turkey pot pie is. Everyone's going to do the same one joke is the problem.
If you have a joke that's funnier than... Wait, what's the one joke? Something penis?
No,
in the butt?
I don't know. Whatever the
say...
most obvious thing is, 30 people are going to tweet me that now. They're going to be like, oh, it's when you take a shit on someone. Oh, okay. Turkey pot pie. Thank you.
Dig Dug, Adam, I kind of really want to get into our challenge right now. I keep saying
sure,
Adam because I'm like, yeah, Adam likes on this podcast. Can we call you Mr. Sandwich? Is that acceptable?
Yes, absolutely. I honor that and respond to it and prefer it.
All right, Mr. Sandwich, could you present the challenge that you brought to us?
Yes, absolutely. I challenged us, the three of us, to bring to the table a harebrained theory, and a harebrained theory is one which you feel is possibly something of like a revelation or an epiphany, quite possibly stupid, most likely very wrong, but at least it puts a new perspective on on your way of thinking about something commonplace. So that's
did
the
you come
harebrained
with
theory.
Did you come with more than one, Adam?
I have a few different flavors. Like I have like a.
Could you give us one to sort of set the tone? Like start us off with a good one here.
Yeah, okay. This is a lowball one. I was showing the movie Hook, the 1991 Spielberg movie Hook, to my son, my 5-year-old son, yesterday. And when you haven't seen an older movie like that, like an older big budget movie like that for a while, and then you go back and watch it, you notice the artifacts of its time, of when it was made, and to me that's always been exemplified, I guess, in things like film grain and gate weave, what they call gate weave, where you can see like the very, very subtle motion of the film weaving back and forth in its gate as it's scanned digitally, and those kinds of imperfections. But because this was the last vestige of analog special effects and set building and things like that before everything went digital, what you get is this imperfection in the sets, which I can only kind of characterize as a wobble. And I realized that the way that we of the nostalgia generation think about our childhood has a lot to do with that wobble, in that the objects in the frame actually wobble, the sets wobble, the animatronic plants wobble. The camera wobbles when it moves around because they didn't have a way of digitally stabilizing it. So my theory is that, I guess if I were to sum it up, I came of age, at least in the wobble film school of film.
Well, there's that idea that like the artifacts of one generation become the next generation's like aesthetic and
Sure.
like nostalgia. So like the hiss of like a record player. Like I'm sure when people were limited to records, they probably went to enormous lengths to get rid of that hiss and that analog sound. And now people now that we have clean music readily available, everyone's like hungry to recreate it.
Yeah, because you recreate it in order to evoke the passing of time. That's the only reason you do that, and because you assign characteristics of that era that no longer exist, and therefore have some sort of an emotional content.
Whenever the mix on this podcast is fucked up, it's because I'm an auteur. I want to give a different.
You should add a subtle warble to the final pass. When you master it.
I think in 50 years, if people are still doing podcasts, they're going to add in like Skype artifacts because they're going to be like, it's part of the medium. It's like what people used to do. Who did you join the call? Okay, I have one about Hook that this wasn't actually on my list, but it's fucking incredible. So it's from our friend C. Spike Trotman, who's at Iron Spike on Twitter. Spike is a independent comic publisher, but she's also one of the most well-read and like she just has like an unbelievable wealth of art history knowledge, and she just drops it in these Twitter threads that like blow my mind sometimes. And she did one about Peter Pan. So she did a tweet the other day of like, she's like, yeah, Peter Pan is like a classic like psychopomp, and a bunch of people were like, what is that? And she's like, well, and so I'm just gonna read her Twitter thread here. But this, in terms of harebrained theories, this one completely blew my mind. She says Peter is modeled on a dead child, the author's older brother. He's shadowless, clad in, quote, autumn leaves and cobwebs, plays a pipe like the Pied Piper, and appears in night to spirit children away to a land, quote, where they never grow up, in an age with sky-high infant mortality. Parents at the time would have understood the metaphor completely the same way that they understood paintings of kids blowing soap bubbles, how they were about child death too. Kids were beautiful, fragile, and potentially gone in an instant. And then she shows all these sort of Renaissance era paintings of children looking at soap bubbles and blowing soap bubbles.
Wow.
Peter is also described as canonically appearing very young, having his first teeth, so younger than 6 or 7, prime age for being taken out by a childhood disease. And then she gives this great quote from the original Peter Pan. My 3 children flew away in the night. They were fine when I put them to bed. Now they're gone to a place where they'll never grow up. That kind of changes Hook a little bit.
Just a bit. Just a bit. Oh my god.
Aren't there some pretty scary parts of Hook?
Oh, yeah. They put scorpions, they put a guy in a box, and then they put scorpions in the box, and I'm not traumatized by that at
there's
all.
full-on murder in that movie,
Oh,
and it's a kid's
so
it's a kid's
much.
movie.
Ugh.
Yeah. Did you remember, by the way, do you kind of remember, you guys aren't as old as I am, but if you go back and watch some of your favorites from your childhood, there's a lot more swears than I think we would get away with in kids movies now. And it was always just like cute to have some chubby little kid go, "Well, fuck you, asshole," and it was just like it was a laugh line, But I don't. You're like, wait, what? That was not only rude, but inappropriate, disrespectful.
Well, now I'm old, so I don't want kids to curse at me. It's my worst fear. I'm gonna walk by the CVS and the kids in the parking lot are gonna curse at me.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Scary.
Yeah, have some discipline. God damn.
Those ruffians. Ugh.
But you know what that reminds me of is, do you guys remember there was like an article that came out last year that was like, people trust you more if you swear, if you use curse words. And then for like 3 weeks, a bunch of congressional Democrats started cursing. So like all of a sudden, like Chuck Schumer was going like, yeah, Donald Trump, he's a fucking liar. Like just like trying to sound cool to his friends. Like,
oh, what's that from? You're a fucking, that's from Fargo, I think, with the truth.
I mean, I like, everyone jokes about the whole shithole thing that Trump was saying, but just there needs to be a compilation out there of anchors just either gleefully saying it over and over, or they look like they're about to pee themselves because they're so nervous. Like everything in their body is like, nope.
That would be a great supercut, wouldn't it? Just be the Overton window of swears on the nightly news.
All right. I have a couple of them here. I have my dumbest one I'll do first, which is, I hope I haven't said this on the podcast already, but I think that the secret, do you guys know the chips Cheez-It? They're like the crackers.
Yes, sure.
I think that the secret of Cheez-It is that so Cheez-It are pretty good, a nice like salty, like Parmesan, like tanginess when you first bite into them. And then they have this aftertaste of ash. Like they just taste horrible. They just turn to dust in your mouth. I mean, they have a terrible, terrible aftertaste. And I think what happens is people start eating Cheez-It and they're like, oh, I love these things. And then you get this horrible lingering aftertaste in your mouth and you're like, God, I need something to get this taste out of my mouth. And what's left is more Cheez-It. It's like sitting right in front of you. So you start eating them, and then at some point you realize you've had like the entire box in one go. And you're like, I must love Cheez-It. I should buy more of these. I think that's the whole secret.
I mean, well, first of all, are you saying Cheez-It like you're saying Lego? Why?
Yeah.
It's Cheez-Its.
No, it's not.
Absolutely. Collective noun.
It says on the bottom.
I think he's right. I think he's right on this one. Yeah, let me check. Yep, he's right.
For what I assume is intellectual property reasons, because they didn't get a trademark on Cheez-Its. The plural of Cheez-It is Cheez-It. So like I had a handful of Cheez-It. I ate 6 Cheez-It.
I can see that. Like there was that wonderful New York Times article that I read about once a year about how Doritos are the most chemically perfect food. Then I'm enjoying a Diet Dr. Pepper right now, which is also it doesn't taste like anything. It was invented to taste good to humans, and I love it. Oh man,
That's awesome.
I don't think this is a harebrained theory. This is just it depends. The scientists at Cheez-It, I don't know if they were intending to do that, but they definitely want. I think there's. It also leaves a coating, so it's almost like there is. I don't think it tastes like ash, but it's definitely like, oh, I'm in the Cheez-It state of mind. I need to continue to be.
This is from that New Yorker article that you're talking about by Michael Moss. He says. The food technicians stopped worrying about inventing new products and instead embraced the industry's most reliable method for getting consumers to buy more, the line extension. The classic Lay's potato chips were driven by salt and vinegar, salt and pepper, cheddar and sour cream. They put out chili cheese-flavored Fritos, and Cheetos were transformed into 21 varieties. Frito-Lay has a formidable research complex near Dallas where 500 chemists, psychologists, and technicians conducted research that cost up to $30 million a year, and the Science Corps focused intense amount of resources on questions of crunch, mouthfeel, and aroma for each of these items. Their tools included a $40,000 device that simulated a chewing mouth to test and perfect the chips, discovering things like the perfect break point. People like a chip that snaps with about 4 pounds of pressure per square inch.
So I just did as an experiment, because I couldn't recall the flavor of a Cheez-It, but I remembered that we had some on the counter. So I asked Mike Merrill, who works for me, to bring me some, and he fetched me a bowl of Cheez-It. I'm not getting the ashiness, but I definitely remember the solidification in your teeth.
It's like a Greek tragedy. It's like a curse from a Greek tragedy. It's like, may water never slake your thirst, and all food turn to ash in your mouth. That's what eating Cheetos is like, or Cheez-Its is like.
It's good, but it doesn't hold a candle to a Better Cheddar, if you remember those.
No.
Better Cheddars? Was that a regional California?
Better Cheddar.
Show notes.
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Is this some sort of like Annie's, some sort of like the Better Cheddar? Is this, what is it, a jarred cheese?
No, Better Cheddar was a chip, a competing chip to Cheez-It.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nabisco Better Cheddars.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's see if they're...
And they were wafer thin and delightful.
Oh, I definitely have had these, and they are good. Yeah. Wow. I had these when I was a kid.
Yeah, I think so. They kept me company on many a Blockbuster night when I was a teenager.
I'm going to expand on this harebrained theory. Are you both familiar with cheese nips? Yes,
this is a George Carlin. This is a George Carlin bit. New Nabisco tits. Cheese tits. Tits doesn't even belong on the list, man.
Well, here's the thing. If you go down the aisle, the cheese tits are right next to the cheese its. Or cheese. I'm sorry.
You'll get it.
Oh, everything's fine.
Wow, this is a real
okay.
It's a real product.
I
can't believe this is real.
But they
oh my God. What a fucking name.
No.
What do you think they left on the What do you think they left on the drawing board?
Cheese dick was definitely up there.
They actually are by Nabisco too. This really is the George Carlin bit. God damn. Nabisco cheese nips. Baked snack crackers. New from Nabisco. Cheese nips. Hey guys, you want some cheese nips? You guys want to come over to my house and eat some cheese nips after school?
I just realized
they make them in different flavors too. They've got Nabisco cheddar cheese nips.
Well, not just different flavors, and this is where the theory comes from. You can't really find basic, normal flavored cheese nips. They're always in some sort of children's shape, and I think that's because not in the shape of children, but like SpongeBob or BB-8 or something. And I think it's because the mouthfeel is just so much better when they have like little ridges in them, and because it can't hold a candle to the cheese it.
Cheese nips, originally styled as cheese dash nips, were introduced in 1955.
Wow.
Today, Cheese Nips is the biggest rival of Cheez-Its.
I'm really glad we've gone down this road. I really want some nips right now.
So
want to snack on a bowl of nips.
Have you actually sought out cheese nips in their pure form, and they only exist in their sort of merchandised form? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because I prefer the ridge nips, and especially for some reason BB-8 and SpongeBob are the best flavors to me. The How to Train Your Dragon not as good. I don't know why.
Ooh, I saw Death of Stalin this weekend. It was phenomenal.
Oh, okay.
The Iannucci movie.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite comedy that I've seen in a movie theater in like 10 years.
Does Steve Coogan play Stalin? Or am I misremembering?
Steve Coogan, Death of Stalin. He might. That actually sounds. Yeah. No, actually, I don't think so.
No.
It's got Jeffrey Tambor and Steve Buscemi.
This looks like it has a very Dr. Strangelove type of feel to it.
It's like In the Thick of It, if you've seen that, or
oh, okay.
Veep. I don't know.
Ooh.
Well, it was banned in Russia, wasn't it?
Oh, that's funny. It's very, very funny. The guy who plays Lucius Malfoy is in this and is so fucking funny.
Oh, he's Stalin.
No, he's the head of the army whose name I can't remember under Stalin.
He was just wearing a lot of medals in this poster.
Yeah, I don't think the guy who played Stalin was a huge name, but also he's dead for most of the movie. Spoilers. I highly recommend this. It's a really, really, really good comedy. I feel like movies haven't been funny in a really long time, and I feel like what passes for humor in movies is usually pretty lame now. And it's usually like moments that are telegraphed of like, you should laugh now. And this was like a genuinely very funny movie.
What did you think of Popstar?
I didn't see Popstar, and you're not the only person whose taste I really like who's told me that I should watch Popstar and that it was funny. So
it is really funny and underappreciated. I think that's the reason I mention it. And as a parent of young kids, I don't get to see movies very often. So, but that was one that stuck out.
I actually should go. Pixar movies are very funny.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Oh no. My choice for the funniest movie in a long, long time, especially as a kids movie, is Captain Underpants. I don't even know if people who are not parents know about it, but it's the funniest kids movie I know of.
I read the books when I was a kid.
Yeah, I should check that out. I liked. I finally got around to watching Paddington, and I thought I thought the first 2 acts of that movie were phenomenal. I thought that was like one of the best kids movies I've seen in a long time.
I'm really excited to hear your takes about Paddington versus Winnie the Pooh when that comes out, because I'm still upset about how he touches Christopher Robin's face in like that slow, sensual manner.
You guys should both watch Paddington. It's such. The third act is a little bit of a mess. They do like the bad thing that third act comedies do, where they have to raise the stakes to such a point that it makes the movie not fun anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But
no, you're not the. I mean, it's been recommended a whole bunch of times, and I don't know why I haven't seen it yet. It just doesn't come up on Netflix.
It's just so impossibly charming.
Do they do like the Marvel thing where he's like, oh, I've lost my hat, and now the hat contains all the gemstones, and the aliens will get it?
You'll see. It's like a whole. They have to concoct some crazy life or death scenario, and it was way more funny when he was just like a menace, like bumbling around like Mr. Magoo and destroying this English town and like ruining this family's life, but in a cute way. All right, Alex, come on, get conspiracy theory.
Harebrained theory.
Harebrained theory. Oh, you raise a good point. Max, which is a harebrained theory. Are all conspiracy theories harebrained theories? And I think your Cheez-It theory was a bit of a conspiracy theory, but which would make sense. Alex, I'm excited to hear your harebrained theory.
This is like one of the low stakes ones. I've talked about this before, but I don't think on this show. Either Steve Jobs or Johnny Ive must have loved orange to the point where it was just like he compulsively needed it one of them needs it on a product. And I think there was that
the color orange.
Okay. Every iPhone for some reason there's still a mute switch, and I hope it never goes away. But they have orange there. Like, why? Like, you could have a neon green. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I guess it does, because orange isn't like a trigger in society the way like green and red are. But also on the original iPod Shuffle, they sold like a sports case that was on a lanyard. Do you remember this? And it was encased in orange rubber. And all of the Apple products now, if you the ones that are smaller, like the accessories, all have little orange tabs on them. There was a brief period where they were green, but that was when they were really pushing like their environmental initiative, and that's when the little leaf on top of Apple stores was green. But yeah, I think.
Well, also the iPod app is orange, isn't it? What are the other signature Apple apps that are orange?
iBooks, which I guess is now Books, but also you reminded me the original.
Find Your Friends, or is that more? That's yellow.
That's like a yellowy, icky. I don't know. I'm not a fan of. It's a different orange. But the original. Oh, I'm sorry, not the original iPod, but the second or third generation iPod that wasn't a click wheel. It just had like this haptic. Like it was what the other click wheels eventually became. It was just based on touch, but it had 4 buttons on the top and they lit up orange. And it feels like blue is the natural color for that. But I absolutely loved it. And also the the little like lock switch so that you wouldn't move the buttons was also orange.
Now, do you like this, or do you not? Do you have a feeling one way or another?
I don't know. I go back and forth all the time. There's a watch band now that's orange, and I'm like, is this the Johnny Ive orange, or is this like the Steve orange? And I don't know. Typically, Max likes the color orange, so there's lots of orange accents in our office.
I do, but so orange looks. So I like black and white because for a variety of reasons relating to me not being a very good designer and using and just leaning on crutches and things like that. So like I generally work with black and white in one color, and orange looks really good with black and white. Like it just really pops, and it's very, very loud. And also I think as an interface designer, you're always looking for something. How do you signal to the user like this is the thing you want? And if you make it orange, that's kind of the universal sign of like pay attention to this. So I think that's why
it's weird though, because I think you're right. It's like pay attention to this, but it's not associated with a verb like stop or go, or
it is though. It's like blaze orange is like if you're hunting and you're trying to not be shot by another hunter, you wear a blaze orange vest.
Isn't that just because it's easier to make neon orange?
It's easier to like it's the easiest color to manufacture.
It's like I don't know. Maybe this is another harebrained theory, but it's easier to make like fluorescent or neon orange vests than yellow ones. Like when you're that make sense?
Because orange is not a color that kind of orange, that safety orange, like does not appear in nature. Like it's anti-camouflage. It's high vis.
Oh.
So fluorescent yellow too, but fluorescent yellow like you can't really recreate on a screen in the same way.
Oh, here we have we solved the mass shooting crisis. We just put orange vests on kids.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Arm the teachers with high vis gear. No, I mean I think that's what it is. Is that I think that probably a lot of minimalist designers pick orange for the same reason I've picked orange over the years and other people have, which is like it looks great with black and white and it sort of signals importance. I think it hasn't aged well on a lot of Apple stuff, though.
I mean, it definitely feels weird on the side. It feels weird on the side of the 10, but now, and my harebrained theory is backed up not only by my anecdotal evidence of seeing orange everywhere. There was that tweet from an ex-Apple employee talking about how Steve wanted the specific color of a Sony remote that had a big orange button.
Yeah, and then they didn't use it.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh fuck this! It looks terrible." Do you have another harebrained theory, Mr. Sandwich?
Okay. Is it? Well, no, I shouldn't do the. Well, fuck it. The Trump one. I have a Trump one.
Okay. Yes.
All right. So George Lakoff and the neurolinguist George Lakoff, the Berkeley professor emeritus. Do you guys know that guy?
I can pretend I do.
Yeah, I do. But do you want to give us a quick summary?
Lakoff is the guy. Don't think of an elephant. Is his famous work. And he just goes into how the language that we use informs so much of our political nature, I guess. And he has all these theories about the left end of the spectrum representing. There's this parenting model, right? So the left subscribes to the ideals of a nurturant parent, and the right subscribes to the ideals of a strict father. Does any of this sound familiar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really super interesting stuff.
I would recommend if you're a listener of the show and you want to learn more about this, go on YouTube and look for George Lakoff's Berkeley lecture called Moral Politics, and that's kind of the foundation. That's the lecture that he basically got transcribed as the book, Don't Think of an Elephant. But you're going to go on YouTube and look for Moral Politics. Alex will put it in the show notes, and that's a very formative talk for me. Like that really helped me figure out a lot of stuff about American politics.
It's fascinating stuff, and yeah, everything falls in line when you start thinking of it, of his framing that way. So, like, that's his whole thing is framing. He's even got a podcast called Frame Lab.
Oh, is that good? Is that good at all?
It's good. I mean, it's good if you're like really into Lakoff. It's him and his friend Gil Faison. Just kidding, he's not Gil Faison, but it actually kind of sounds like the Oh Hello guys. Nick Kroll and John Mulaney's characters. It sounds a little bit like that.
What's it called one more time? Frame Lab.
Frame Lab. I've only listened to a couple episods. Anyway, so
it's got a brain on it. As a rule of thumb, I don't usually subscribe to podcasts with a brain in the logo.
It's a good policy.
Because you always wind up with who's that guy who sounds like Kermit the Frog, who's like complains about Disney movies on Twitter. There's like a whole thing about him right now.
I don't know.
That Kermit the Frog sounding motherfucker, and he's like, "Oh, Disney is ruining the discourse with their fairy tales." I can't even do a good
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that fucking guy. He's doing some sort of talk in the logo for like I saw like a tour poster of his for like his like Trigger the Libs like college tour, and it's like a a brain hand grenade. That's like the logo of the tour. Like this is really gonna blow some minds.
Right. So there's a lot of talk right now about evangelicals supporting Trump and how, and he actually went into this in his podcast. How is it that the conservatives nearly took Clinton down over his affair while he was in office, and the same base is supporting Trump basically no matter what he does, even with this infidelity and everything. And Lakoff has this whole thing about moral hierarchy, man above woman, country above man, or God above man. I forget what the hierarchy is, but it's all this kind of like, man versus nature kind of stuff that you learn in junior high, but it's about hierarchy. And so I guess my harebrained theory is that God at this point, Trump, I blew the gag.
We'll fix it in post.
The title of this harebrained theory in my notes in my Bear app is Donald J. God, so that's why I fucked it up. Anyway, it's the harebrained theory is that Trump is infallible in the same way that God is infallible to many people. Like a God who permits bone cancer in kids and devastation in the third world can be forgiven for those transgressions just by the nature of being God. And if Trump represents the ideals of everything that the conservative base wants in a politician and a leader, then he basically can do anything in a godlike way. And that the only way that people, and so really the key to how do people give up their belief in Trump is to sort of think about it, reframe it as a question of how do people give up their faith in God. That's my harebrained question.
Oh shit! So I need to become sort of like some sort of like Sam Harris motherfucker, and like and like write like provocative books like, oh, so you're still clinging to your childish fairy tales and illusions. You still believe in Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I like when you
patronizing. It works.
Yeah, people love being told how dumb they are. They find that very persuasive.
I can't believe he has more patrons than us. Oh,
who, Sam Harris?
But he only has one tier.
I don't want to get into yelling about Sam Harris, but I did like when Christopher Hitchens went on Bill Maher and called Most Def Mr. Definitely. All right, I have a good one. I hope I can't remember which of my conspiracy theories I've talked about on the show before, but I have a harebrained theory that's like a grand unified hipster theory of our whole generation. Have I ever told you this, Alex? I'm
not sure.
It's pretty.
Sounds like something you would say though.
It's pretty awesome. I'm very proud of this. Okay. This is usually once I've had about 2 beers, and then I'm like, all right, let me explain everything. You guys got 20 minutes? Give me, who's got a pen? Okay, so I think the defining thing of our generation is that we were denied a counterculture. So a counterculture is like a thing that's like responding. It's like outside of and responding to the mainstream culture that can give you a feeling of belonging as like something different than the mainstream culture. So like hippies were a counterculture against the
rigid post-war nuclear family.
The Mad Men, early 60s, Mad Men world. And I've heard a lot of people say like the hippie counterculture died when you could go to Kmart or Walmart and like buy hippie clothes in the section because it exposed that the hippie counterculture had been like fully subsumed into capitalism and into the mainstream, and it was just being sold back to you, and it rendered it like powerless and inauthentic. Not as some sort of plan, like that wasn't like anyone got together and was like, let's destroy the counterculture this way. That's just the natural progression of events.
The physics of capitalism.
Yeah, right. Like there's this idea in critical theory that there's no heresy in capitalism, meaning like capitalism can tolerate anything. There's like nothing that's so egregious that capitalism won't market it and sell it back to you. And I think the thing that happened with our generation is the mechanisms for capitalism to do that got really, really fast. So you could have Occupy Wall Street happen one day, and like by that afternoon or by the next day, there was like cafe press signs selling "We Are the 99% T-shirts" online, or whatever. Like we saw that happen with the Women's March, right? There were people already merchandising and selling Women's March things, or there was even a thing going around conservative Twitter this weekend because there were people who were selling March for Our Lives merch. There's like, there's street vendors who do, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? There's like, these are not officially sanctioned. They're just guys. And they're like, I'm going to make March for Our Lives like buttons and shirts and magnets and bullshit and sell it. And there was going on conservative Twitter, there were like Craigslist, like jobs postings saying like, I will pay you $300 a day to sell T-shirts at March for Our Lives. And then the conservatives are like, look, they're paying the protesters. So, but anyway, it's just another sign of the way. But basically what I'm saying is like the treadmill is very fast now. Like as soon as people can come up with a counterculture or a protest, it's like sold right back to them. So I think like hipster culture, at least of like my generation, and when I was in college, this was like really prominent. And it's still going pretty strong. Hipster culture is the conscious embrace of stuff that can't be sold back to you. So you're trying to find things that are shitty, unlikable, thrift, used, worn down, bad, and then you're embracing them ironically so that when they inevitably, because even if you wear like, vintage T-shirts with holes in them and you drink shitty beer at a dive bar and you like bad movies and you ironically, the idea is that even then you have to ironically appreciate those things because when they eventually become marketed back to you with like, Kanye West selling a vintage T-shirt with holes in it for, $1,000 and people creating new shitty dive bars and beer, Miller High Life, like consciously marketing their shitty beer to hipsters. Even when that stuff starts to get marketed back to you, when the unthinkable happens, then you're like, well, I never really liked it. It was only a joke to begin with. So it's this like armor people put together. It's like the whole aesthetic is just this armor of like not getting wounded by liking things.
I buy it.
That's my harebrained theory about that explains our whole generation. So whenever you're like, why do people like this shitty thing, or why do they ironically why do people like The Room ironically? Like, why did they catch on with our generation? Because The Room was supposed to be the one thing that couldn't be sold back to us, and of course it was.
Interesting. So you think that the popular or the triumph of The Room, the fact that there was a movie made of the story, actually effectively kills The Room?
No, I actually have complicated feelings about The Room, but I actually view it. I never liked the public screening. I went to a public screening of The Room, like in the really early days of that, and I was uncomfortable with it because I felt that it was mean spirited the way that people were engaging in it. But I always thought The Room was kind of cool because I felt like it was I felt that it was a little bit tragic, but it was this crazy guy. But what I liked about it was that it just has this really earnest feeling, like he really fucking went for it. Like, it doesn't...
Oh, I agree. I feel like... And did you see The Disaster Artist?
Yeah. I read the book and saw the film, yeah.
Right, and I feel like the way to best appreciate the room is to do so by yourself contemplatively and like on your own private screening and think about life and wonder to what degree you are actually Tommy Wiseau.
Right. Well, I think a lot of people do work that doesn't even rise to the level of Tommy Wiseau because they will never actually try that much. They'll never put that much on the line for fear of being made fun of the way that he was. And as a result, their shit will always be ironic and it will always suck and it will always be a C+.
That's why my feelings about The Room, that like it's really complicated, because the first time I saw it, it was like off someone's laptop and we were just gathering around and, it was like a bad movie night or whatever, but it was like, wait, what is going on? Hold on. And there was all of this mystery surrounding it other than this guy just made a movie and it was truly him. And like, we all know the credit sequence. It's just Tommy Wiseau, Tommy Wiseau. And it's like, oh, it's not, it's truly, truly earnest. And even
it's not being served up to you. It's very raw.
Yeah. And even the, when I read The Disaster Artist, like I loved it as a story and like learning more about him. But I'm like, slowly as we peel back this, like who he is he just being sold to us more? Like I really enjoyed The Disaster Artist. Just on like it was fun, but I don't know. It's kind of sad. Like because he wants to be sold to us, and it's like
I feel like I feel like there was a higher, a more aspirational version of the Disaster Artist film that looked at Tommy Wiseau as maybe more of a tragic figure, but more of like a true artist who like at least he went for it and tried and put himself out there and tried. And I feel like instead it never really had that depth. It never like really looked into his character because it was always sort of making fun of him.
Yeah, Maddie had a good review that I enjoyed. Like, they were like, I mean, it's pretty basic, and it is. It just distills him down into this.
It was an unbelievable impression.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, but
I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, I feel like that was the whole premise for them doing the movie was that what's his name can do a really good impression of Tommy Wiseau.
No, it was because James Franco wanted to be like he wants to be Tommy Wiseau. He wants to be mysterious and earnest. Maybe it seems like that's what he wants. Adam, do you have another one for us?
No, I don't. I mean, I have a follow on to Max's counterculture one, which is that I feel that our country is a culture of rebels. The dominant spirit of Americans is one of rebellion, and the reason that we had what happened in 2016 happen is that the rebels got to be on that side of the political spectrum, and I feel like it constantly swings back and forth. Whoever gets to hold the rebellion, depending on the time. So. It's always, I feel like it's pretty trite to say that the pendulum swings back and forth, but I feel like it's useful to think of it as whoever gets to hold the grievance gets to sort of wave that banner of rebellion.
Can I give you the like materialist interpretation of that, which is that maybe it's just that the vast majority of people in America are kind of getting screwed, and they know that. That not in a way where they like believe in like like some sort of like socialist program to like improve their own lives, but just in the ways that people generally have a pretty keen sense of fairness, and they know that they're not getting their fair cut, especially if you like look at how people live in other parts of the world. And so the reason that it's like the rebels win so often is that people are just in general, they're dissatisfied and they have short memories. So it's like if you're dissatisfied for 8 years under Obama, then you're going to rebel against Obama. But if you're dissatisfied for 8 years under Trump, then you're going to rebel against Trump. So I actually don't think that it's like the narrative is, I think it's basically that people are just mad and that they keep voting out the party in power in cycles like pretty consistently in every election because they're very dissatisfied and their lives kind of suck. And then they get to there's a lot of post hoc reasoning of like, oh, they were the rebels or they used Facebook better or whatever. And like none of that stuff. That's all like 1%.
I'm wondering, Mr. Sandwich, do you think it is like I kind of buy this harebrained theory. Is this like a good thing or a toxic thing? Because I don't want us to be a country of rebels. I want us to only rebel when things get real bad.
Well, yeah, I think it depends on what you're rebelling against. I feel like change is always good, or energy is always good, but wide swaths of change probably are not good. And yeah, I don't know what the next phase of that argument is, but I think we can all agree that more engagement, at least participating in the process, gives us some agency over the change that happens, and gives us agency and appreciation over in smaller change incrementally, rather than stasis and expectations of large changes that never come.
Now I'm talking myself out of this harebrained theory. Do you think it could just be that it's just easier to have the appearance of rebellion? Like it's really easy to make a sign and put it on Instagram.
That's where I'm coming from, is that there's something sexy about rebellion and something valued in our society of rebellion. So it's what makes it possible for these horrible sentiments, things that nobody should be saying, to become suddenly fashionable because they come under the guise of rebelliousness, political incorrectness under the guise of just saying it like it is, kind of thing.
Yeah. That is very interesting.
What appeals to you about these theories, Adam?
Mostly just that it's exercise and it feels good, like because and I don't know, and I told you guys this in my email to you about the challenge that I really wanted to start a podcast called Harebrained Theories, in which I would just invite a guest on to share a harebrained theory and then we talk about it. That would be fun. And it's just because there are some people that I have really excellent conversations with, and it's always about that. It's always starting the conversation with, I have this theory that ... And I'm sure you can identify with this. Both of you are smart people that share your I have this theory ... all the time. So I feel like just that exercise, and it keeps your mind agile. It's just interesting. Like what else is there to do in life?
I have a text file in my Bear app of that I call just like dichotomies, and I'm really interested in whenever I read an essay or I hear a speech or something, and someone poses something of like, an interesting dichotomy of like it's this versus that kind of. I think that those are, they're not true per se, but I think it's fun to sort of, how do I put it? Like to reorient your thinking along those lines and just see how the world looks. You know what I mean? Like I think
to see if you can make systems out of the world, or recognize patterns out of the world, even if they're wrong. What's the word for recognizing patterns where none exists? I forget. There's a word for that.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I think of it.
Synesthesia.
No, I didn't know if that was a bit or not.
Morgellons disease.
I have a text file in Bear called Stoned, which is exactly what you would think it is.
Yeah, I have a YouTube playlist of things that I laughed at when I'm high, and then I'm like, I wonder if I'll laugh at this when I'm not high. And it's an interesting playlist.
Apophenia is the tendency to perceive connections.
It was in the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
I almost said it.
I was just about to say that. All right, one more. I'm always.
All right, this is for sure. Is this the after show now?
This is. Well, maybe we'll
Adam,
see.
Can you stay for a little bit more?
Of course.
How are you doing on time?
I'm good. I should go in a bit, but I want to hear Alex's last one.
All right. Well, welcome to the after show, everybody.
Okay. So the singularity has already happened. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sandwich. It's already happened, but artificial, like the intelligence that was inadvertently created in some lab is much too smart to even acknowledge human existence, and it is living and existing in some way that we can't even comprehend, and we're all like.
Was this in your Pie ideas folder, or your harebrained ideas folder?
This is the harebrained.
Okay.
And it's like people often think the singularity is like, oh, it means that one day a machine is going to talk to us, and it is going to. It's what we perceive as consciousness, and Max and I don't really see eye to eye on what consciousness is. It's also very hard for me to say, so I don't talk about it. But I think you never know. It could be like right now. The little like compressor in my microphone could be like, oh, yep, she's right. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You don't know.
It could
you
be,
don't
but
know.
it could be, but it's not, and I do know. Because that's empirically testable. Do you think we're living in a simulation? Do you subscribe to the simulation theory?
I don't care, but I think it's
showed
plausible.
me there's alleged math behind this. Like there's someone figured out some way to express the probabilities of this in a way that sounds extremely like made up bullshit to me, but whatever. But Josh showed me the math, and he claims that we're most likely living in a simulation.
I agree, but I don't think it matters.
You can use math to prove the opposite too, but I believe it. I believe we are. I think this is a simulation, but with no gravity more than like. Is it possible to say whether there's a God? I don't know. Not possible for us to know, but it sure is fun to think.
How could we be living in a simulation? If someone made a simulation, why would they make it so that my fart smelled like the thing that I ate? That's way too specific. No one would have put that much thought into it.
Yes, think about. I mean, fucking Monster Factory. Like, why are they like, oh, this is Bort Simpson? Why do we enjoy like any sort of when we play with dolls? Why do we make them like? Why does the 11th Doctor have a really specific green sonic screwdriver? Like it's because we as masters, it's fun and cool. So,
by the way, the simulation didn't make your farts smell like what you ate. You made that happen.
But I'm saying no one would have programmed that into the simulation. Like at some point
why not?
Because if you've ever made a game, you know that at some point you have scope creep and you have to start cutting, and that would not make the cut.
Well, that's why we don't have.
There's no way that was on the bug tracker and someone's like, I'm going to escalate that.
That's why we don't have telekinesis. That's why we can't create a holodeck, is because then it stops being fun for the people who've made the simulation. If we create our own simulation.
Alex, I'm buying you a copy of David Chalmers' book, The Conscious Mind. Come back after you've read it.
Oh my God.